Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis made a passionate appeal for peace in South Sudan on the first day of his ecumenical pilgrimage on Friday. While addressing members of civil society, the diplomatic corps, bishops, representatives of other denominations and the Muslim community, the Holy Father said, "No more destruction. It is time to build. Leave the time of war behind and let a time of peace dawn." The Holy Father reminded the leaders that their primary duty is to serve the community and reiterated that he had come to the nation as a pilgrim of peace and reconciliation. He told the gathering he was stretching out his hands to the South Sudanese people in the name of the Prince of Peace. Pope Francis became the first pope to set foot in South Sudan. The Holy Father landed at Juba International Airport and was welcomed by President Salva Kiir along with other cabinet members. Thousands thronged the capital Juba to have a glimpse of the Holy Father. Several pilgrims, including a group of 60 young people and 24 adults, travelled across South Sudan by foot for 9 days to see Pope Francis and to pray for peace in their country. The ecumenical prayer service was led by Pope Francis, the Anglican Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, and the moderator of the General Assembly of the Church of Scotland, Ian Greenshields. The Pope will remain in South Sudan until Sunday. Meanwhile, 27 civilians were killed and several others were injured in clashes between cattle herders and other locals at Kajo County in Liri Payan on Thursday. Rebel group fighters killed 6 people from a herding community in the central Equatoria state. Herders retaliated later that day by killing 21 civilians. Anglican Archbishop Paul Yugosuk of the Episcopal Conference of South Sudan condemned the killings. The Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, also tweeted about his closeness to the victims and their families. 24 men have received priestly ordination in South Korea. One man belongs to the Catholic Seoul International Mission Society, while the others were ordained for the archdiocese of Seoul. The archdiocese established the Mission Society in 2005 to send missionaries to Latin America. The ordination that took place at Myeongdong Cathedral in Seoul was presided over by Archbishop Peter Chung Sun-taik. The number of men who were ordained to the priesthood at Myeongdong Cathedral last year was 23. Seoul Archdiocese, which has 232 parishes and more than 950 priests, serves 1.5 million Catholics. Around 6 million people in the country are Catholic. Charges against a British woman who was detained after telling police that she may be silently praying outside an abortion clinic have been dropped, but her legal team warns that they may yet be brought back. Following her detention on December the 6th and subsequent charges of violating an exclusion zone outside an abortion facility in Birmingham, Isabel Vaughan Spruce was charged on December the 15th with 4 counts of failing to comply with a public space protection order. Vaughan Spruce is the leader of the pro-life group 40 Days for Life, Birmingham. Police allegedly asked Vaughan Spruce if she was praying at the time she was outside an abortion facility. After saying that she might well be doing so silently, she was taken into custody. Vaughan Spruce was due in at Birmingham Magistrates Court on Wednesday, but charges were dropped by the Crown Prosecution Service for lack of sufficient evidence. A Catholic diocese in Vietnam celebrated a special Requiem Mass and burial for 700 aborted fetuses last Sunday. Catholics in the Xuan Loc diocese in the southwest of the country who participated in the ceremony dedicated themselves to raising awareness of human dignity in a country where abortions are particularly common among young people. Hundreds of pro-life volunteers attended the programme and buried the fetuses in the church cemetery, where over 60,000 are buried. In Vietnam, around 300,000 terminations occur annually, mostly among girls between the ages of 15 and 19, with students accounting for over 70% of them. A federal appeals court on Thursday invalidated Tampa, Florida's restriction on so-called conversion therapy, a decision that supporters of religious liberty are hailing as a triumph for the First Amendment. In a legal battle over the city's ban on counsellors offering voluntary therapy to those seeking assistance with same-sex attractions, a 3-judge panel on the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals sided with Tampa-based family therapist Robert Vatso and the Christian ministry New Hearts Outreach Tampa Bay. The conservative Christian legal organisation Liberty Counsel, representing the plaintiffs in the lawsuit, called the ruling a great victory for counsellors and their clients. Thursday's ruling comes after the city appealed the district court's decision. Bans on sexual orientation change efforts have become more common in recent years. Over the years, the US Supreme Court has declined to hear challenges to such bans. New regulations that are expected to become law later this year in the United Kingdom will give pregnant women extra protection against being laid off. Currently, employees who are on maternity leave are only partially protected from being fired. According to the new rule, a woman will be protected from the time she discloses her pregnancy to her employer until the child is 18 months old. Despite needing additional support, the Pregnant Then Screwed charity called Labour MP Dan Jarvis's plan a step in the right direction. After being approved by members of Parliament on Friday, Jarvis's bill will now be discussed in the House of Lords. However, as it has government support, it is likely to become law and will apply to England, Wales and Scotland, but not Northern Ireland, where employment law is devolved. Jarvis, who is the MP for Barnsley Central, said it would help tens of thousands of women who are pushed out of the workforce every year simply for being pregnant. Thanks to a collaboration between Salesian Missions, the Salesians of Don Bosco's US development arm, and international relief organisation Rise Against Hunger, a Don Bosco development centre in the city of Negombo in Sri Lanka received over 2,500 boxes of rice meals for distribution. This donation brought relief to more than 6,000 people. Due to 2 consecutive seasons of low harvests, Sri Lanka is currently experiencing a food shortage. The nation suffered a long civil war that ended in 2009, 2 tsunamis in the past 13 years, and a deadly dengue crisis. According to a September 2022 report of the United Nations, these factors, along with the skyrocketing prices of food inflation at over 90%, have left an estimated 6.3 million people, or 30% of the population, facing moderate to severe food insecurity. Catholic bishops in Brazil say that Christians should be indignant against any denigration of indigenous peoples and urge the government to protect communities and their rights. In a recent statement regarding a report which highlighted the lack of respect for indigenous peoples' rights, the Brazilian Bishops' Conference stated that the predatory exploitation of the environment spreads death in the name of money. The bishops pointed to the Catholic Church's closeness and solidarity with indigenous peoples. They wrote of how the pains of each indigenous person are also those of the Church, which, according to her doctrine and the teaching of Pope Francis, teaches the importance of native peoples in the conservation of the planet. Myanmar's junta has implemented strict new restrictions under which anybody accused of treason and spreading false news would be punished by a military court. The local media reports that no appeals will be accepted for verdicts rendered by military tribunals in the 37 townships impacted by the measures, except for the death penalty, which requires the approval of the junta chief. Since Aung San Suu Kyi's government was overthrown in a coup in 2021, Myanmar has been in turmoil as a result of a crackdown on dissent, with the results being violence being felt in large portions of the country. The recent declaration indicates the junta is seeking new approaches to crushing opposition in regions where anti-coup forces are active. The 37 affected townships lie across 8 states. The decision came a day after the media announced a 6-month extension to a state of emergency, delaying elections the junta had pledged to hold by August. Iraq's President Abdul Latif Jamal Rashid met the Chaldean Patriarch of Iraq, Cardinal Louis Raphael Sacco, and the heads of the churches of Baghdad at Baghdad Palace on Thursday. The President stressed that Christians are an inherent component of the country and must be given an active role in various political and administrative fields, noting that all authorities are required to defend the rights of Christians, which are guaranteed by the Constitution to all citizens. The Cardinal reviewed several issues facing Christians, stressing that the Christian component adheres to its national identity and supports fraternity among all segments of the people. The President emphasised that Iraq is experiencing security and political stability. He cited recent visits to the provinces of Basra and Mosul, where he spoke with residents and celebrated Christmas with Christians. The Replica chatbot startup is not permitted to use the personal information of Italian users. That is according to Italy's data protection agency, which cited hazards to children and emotionally vulnerable individuals. Users can create personalised avatars that talk and listen to them using Replica, a San Francisco firm that was established in 2017. The so-called virtual friend is advertised as having the ability to enhance the user's emotional well-being. However, the Italian regulatory body warned that by affecting the user's mood, it may enhance the dangers for those still in a developmental stage or a state of emotional fragility. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again next time. In the meantime, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.